I said it post-match after Dundee, but we have reason to be optimistic. Celtic are going into the second game of the Champions League group stage, the new format of the Champions League group stage, away to Borussia Dortmund. In a game that, when the draw was made, we all kind of looked at it and thought, right, we're probably not going to get any points there. But with the form that Borussia Dortmund have started their season with the form that we've started our season with, we can definitely be optimistic coming into this one. In the video today, we're going to be previewing Celtic versus Borussia Dortmund, what the expected lineups are, what we expect to see in the match, and what Celtic really need to do if we're going to get anything out of this game at all. At any point in the video, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel. We are pushing for 10,000 subscribers, and we cannot do that without your support. And get into the comment section in this one and let me know what your score predictions are, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. I want to see them in the comment sections, and we'll see if anyone's got it right by the end of the game when we come back for the post-match analysis, or maybe post-mortem. Let's see how it goes. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Because this new Champions League format gave us some hope, gave us a reason to be maybe ambitious coming into this season's, Champions League and all the rest of it. But one thing I found really early from match day one is it's dead easy to just catch a lot of Champions League games and get to see a few different opponents that we're going to come up against, as well as, what games are actually televised at the weekend across the various leagues in European football. And Borussia Dortmund is a team that I know a lot of Celtic fans have been kind of tuning into since the draw was made to see, what are we up against? What is the measure of their team? And for that being one of the scariest fixtures that we've got on paper alongside the next one, which is Atalanta away, how scary are they? Is this a game where we're going to get another doing? Can we make some history away from home and get a result like we dare to dream? And Borussia Dortmund this season, after changing manager, Edin Terzic's second stint, the Borussia Dortmund fan, coach come manager that led them to the final last year, walked away from the job, and they've appointed former Brendan Rodgers player Nuri Sahin after a pretty impressive performance. I think it was in Turkey he was in before. And opening game of the season, there's a little bit of a change of style to last season, not a huge one here when you see that kind of box midfield again. They beat Frankfurt 2-0. They draw 0-0 away to Werder Bremen. 2 clean sheets on the bounce is definitely a positive. They then go on to beat Heidenheim 4-2. Now, Heidenheim actually qualified for the Conference League last year, so they're no pushovers at all. They have lost some players in the transfer window, but they're probably not as dangerous as they were last year. In the opening game of the group stage of the Champions League, they go away to Brugge, who we are going to be playing against, and they wash them 3-0. And this is the sort of shape and the sort of personnel that I think is kind of forming into the Borussia Dortmund best 11 and the 11 that we're going to see play against Celtic on Tuesday night. They obviously lost 5-1 to Stuttgart, which I think a lot of Celtic fans caught that match and have drawn opinions on the Borussia Dortmund team from that one. And again, I think we all tuned in Friday night to watch Borussia Dortmund beat Bochum by 4-2 in a game that they were losing 2-0, that if you were watching it, Myron Bladu could have made it 3-0 and really put egg on their face and really dented their confidence coming into this one. But they rallied round, and with a goal off the bench from the Mecca, Girassi stepping up and one or two others, they got the job done. And as I mentioned, that goal off the bench, looking through this, let their bench contribute every game, so this is a team that play for the full 90 minutes, and this is a team that we can't get to the 80th minute and think, oh, we're almost there, or anything like that. This is going to be something that is blood, sweat and tears all the way to the final whistle. Now, the main question mark for us coming into this game is going to be the defence, of course. Is it going to be Austin Trusty, or is it going to be Cameron Carter-Vickers and his big toe who's going to make it? I guess we'll see that in the pictures for who flies off to Germany later today at point of recording. But I think the midfield we've definitely seen the precursor to this, I think, at the weekend away at St Johnstone, because it's the only reason I think that you really make the midfield a bit more strong, a bit more immobile, a little bit less mobile, however you want to think of it, by bringing in Bernardo and Engels. Because, we could have played Tatate as normal domestically against St Johnstone, I feel, and we would have got a similar performance. Bernardo was brilliant in man of the match, and he did absolutely fantastic for me. And like I said at the time, I think this is a precursor to what we're going to see, because the way Borussia Dortmund want to play when they get on the ball is this back four really becomes a back three, because Ryerson is just going to be flying up and down the right hand side here. So your boys Anton Schlotterbeck and Bensebaini are going to become a bit of a three, and I think this is what we are counting on here, because having Ryerson as the wide player on this side, and then on this side, it's probably going to be Adeyemi. It could be Daniel Mallon. Bino Gittins picked up a bit of an injury. He's been really good this year, so I don't know if it will be him, because just with the quick turnaround of matches. And then once they leave their arrowhead forward Girassi up here with the centre-backs, the midfield becomes this box kind of shape, where they want to get the ball out the back, they want to control possession, and then they want to have overloads with whatever side of the pitch the ball is on, at any given point, as well as being safe to the ball turning over and some sort of counter-attack. And I think you need Bernardo, you need McGregor, you need Engels, you need this midfield three to to fight against that for me. This is one of the benefits. This is going to be a great game to see Arne Engels in, obviously being a Bundesliga player. He's played Borussia Dortmund a handful of times already, and this shouldn't be something that really like overawes him or really puts him into his shell or anything. If anything, this should be a great game for him to be comfortable. Like, he knows the venue, he knows the opponent pretty well, better than anyone else in the Celtic team. But with the development that we've seen for him in his short time at Celtic already, this could be a game for him to, you know, put a bit of a show on and put his stamp on the team, as it were. Because Gross can, even Sabitzer, but certainly Julian Brandt, all these guys are really, really good on the ball. They're all clinically dangerous, very good attacking-based centre midfielders in their different positions, but none of them are lightning quick. None of them are blessed with lots of pace, and Gross and Chan are not going to be driving up midfield. Sabitzer can drive a little bit into space. Brandt loves to overlap the forward and get into these little pockets, sure, but I don't think they're going to be giving us absolute nightmares when it comes to the pace and attack. Ryerson's really quick and can definitely give Taylor some food for thought, but Johnson against whoever they do play on this side here is going to be their main route to go, their main problem that we need to solve. And I fancy Alistair Johnson to put in a really good Champions League performance and give a good man-for-man account against the danger man that he's up against here. But we're going to have to be really compact. We're going to have to be really safe in possession because they are going to press us out from the back, and this is going to ask big questions of Scales, of Taylor, of Trusty if he is on to play. Are these guys Champions League level? But the way this game is going to go for me in both halves of it, for the 100 odd minutes included added time that it's going to run for, is Kasper Schmeichel is really going to be earning his checkbook, his wage packet this week. This will easily be, without a doubt, the busiest game he's had in a Celtic shirt. We're going to face a handful of shots in this game, if not more. And as much as the defence need to be switched on, need to be strong, need to be brave, and all the rest of it, like, the goalkeeper is going to be the make or break of it for this one. We've seen so many times in, Celtic's European journeys where we are resolute, we do keep things tight, and then, like, think about it, over the last couple of years, a free kick flies in from 30 yards or an innocuous chance just does go in. The keeper doesn't have that moment in him. I think Schmeichel has all of that in him, and I think he is going to be a key player in this match, and we are going to need him because Borussia Dortmund are going to have the majority of possession. We're going to be in our half for the majority of the game, but with this midfield especially, like, I think this sets up really nicely for us because only having Ryerson and Adeyemi out in the wide areas here, again, similar to Engels, Nicholas Kuhn, former German youth international, he's going to want to put a show on being back in Germany, and he is in fantastic form. So if between him and Johnson and Engels, they've been forming a really nice partnership on the right hand side. If they can carve out little pockets of space, like, I really fancy Kuhn to cause them a lot of problems and give them a lot of headaches. And you know that this is a game that Kyogo's going to be up for in terms of that mega press alongside Daisen Maeda. So allowing the three guys, allowing the best three forwards we've got at the club to find those pockets of space. Daisen, as you know, and Kuhn has been absolutely amazing defensively this year. The amount of tackles, interceptions, and defensive duels that he's won this year has really gone under the radar so far, and you're going to get that from both of them, don't get me wrong, but what all three of them are going to give us is electric pace in counter-attack. So if Gross does fancy himself to try and get a little bit higher, chance slots in, Slaughterbeck loves, he's the guy that's going to transfer into midfield. He's the guy that's going to carry the ball, perhaps past the press, and try and get into midfield here. And there is going to be spaces where if we can turn over the ball quick enough and we can have a good enough range of passing, we can get Daisen in on the counter-attack. We can release Kyogo one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and Kuhn can do something as well. So we're definitely going to have a clear route to go. The Borussia Dortmund are going to let us open up, no doubt about it, and it is going to be about the quality that we offer in this game if we can actually take advantage of it. And with the form that we've started to show domestically, this is one of the big things that Celtic have been really missing over the last couple of campaigns, is in these games, whenever teams of our stature do get results, every time when you look at them domestically, they're washing teams 4, 5 and 6 consistently, and they've got a great defensive record. And we really do bring a lot of those ingredients into this match. Borussia Dortmund being at home, the famous yellow wall, the bit of pressure that they're under, this is a big game for them, don't get me wrong, don't get it twisted. Girassi, Gross, there's been a lot of guys in here, Anton as well, that have came in for big money in this summer, and there's big expectations on them trying to finish into the top 8 of this group section as well, especially beating Bruges 3-0 in the first one. And every one of these guys is going to be giving it their all. I don't think the Borussia Dortmund will be taking us lightly in any way, shape or form at all. But as I line them up man for man, Scales and Trusty, like Scales especially, like I fancy Scales to give as good as he can against Girassi. I know we played like the B teams for Man City and Chelsea or whatever in pre-season, but the one interesting thing, or the one really good takeaway I felt from the pre-season, was Scales versus Haaland. Now Haaland did make Scales look a level below, don't get me wrong, but Haaland is a cut above, and Gerassi's maybe not too far away from that, but I don't think Scales, let's see how he gets on, right? But I think Scales could put on a great performance in this one, and I think he could give Gerassi, a really hard day at the office. And if our centre-backs can do that, if our goalkeeper can really pull out one of his best performances, then, I think Taylor is going to have a good time here against Ryerson, Johnson against Adeyemi, and then the rest of everything just kind of does bump off each other. It's going to be about who makes the best decisions, who has the game plan, who has the confidence on the day to execute and take those chances. And like we mentioned with Borussia Dortmund's bench and the kind of like the prelude for them, as it were, I really like our key options from the bench. I don't know if we'll go on to make 4 or 5 substitutions in this match. It really does depend on, like, maybe Vickers starts on the bench, or maybe Vickers starts the game. We need to bring Trusty in at the 80th minute or something like that. But being able to bring in Adam Eden later in this game as well, who does have a lot of similar running power, and he's maybe not quite as quick as Kyogo, but he's certainly equally as fast. Like you could play a similar type of ball down a channel for him, and to Tate, who might just be able to creep into some blind spots and over the shoulder of some of these guys if maybe they're pushing on towards the back end of the game. Like, we have a lot to be optimistic about, is what I'm hoping we get. I hope we see a good encounter. I hope we keep it nice and tight and we keep the scoreline down early on and give us every chance in this game, because there's nothing about this Dortmund team that I look at and think, and if you think about the European giants we've played in the past, that they've got an utterly world-class midfield, or their forward line is like Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo and everything else. It's not anything like that we're dealing with. So this is a team that's a level above us European-wise in terms of the amount of money and infrastructure and facilities and all the rest of it, and obviously the Champions League finalists last year. But if we can bring our A game, or as close to an A game as we possibly can here, then this is going to be a great game to be a Celtic fan and watch. This won't be one that you're watching through your fingers, or after 20 minutes, you just get that feeling of, oh, here we go again. This feels like a game that we're going to come away from, no matter what the result, no matter what the scoreline, feeling pretty positive about the progression we've made, because the last 2 Champions League campaigns has all been about, have we made progression or not? And, that's been a topic of debate and a point of discussion and all the rest of it. But this is a game that I think we will see the progression we've had. I'm quite confident we have made a lot of progression in the team, and we should be able to show that in this Champions League match, in this new Champions League format. So I'm optimistic. I can't say that enough. And, if we are able to put our foot on the ball and actually control play for any period of time, like I mentioned already, the triangles, the kind of partnership we've got on this right-hand side here with Engels, Johnson and Kuhn, I fancy to come up against many a team across European football and get a lot of joy. And if that is the case, then we do have guys that will be getting into the box and can finish these sorts of chances as well. But not only that, but again, we've been thinking about it defensively, perhaps against Ryerson, maybe Sabitzer if he pulls into this kind of zone. But on the ball, Greg Taylor has the potential to really creep up in some awkward spots, and this could be a game where he really does cement and underline himself as being the top end left back. It does show in 95% of his matches for the last 3 or 4 years. Like I've said already, I think he's on to have the best season ever in a Celtic jersey in his career, so this could be a game where that does show up as well, because this overloading, inverted fullback system that we do play, if Ryerson gets pinned back with Daizen Maeda, this could be a great little cheat code that, works very well when your team is well rehearsed and your team is really confident. If you come into a game thinking, oh, we could try and do this as a cheat code, it doesn't normally tend to work out. But it's because it's a style of play that we have already anyway. Now, we are away from home, so us having our foot on the ball and actually controlling possession for extended passages of play is not something we can really go into this game hoping or expecting or demanding or whatever. But if the opportunity does arise, I could really see Greg Taylor causing these guys all sorts of problems in this overloading left-hand side position here. And especially if it happened early on in the match. Sometimes with these games, the first goal or the first 2 goals, depending on how the game does shake out, do dictate a lot of, the game state, and then how each team needs to react to one another, chances they need to take, passages of play they need to force when maybe it's not on, that kind of thing. And, we have a lot of dimensions to us, which is why, like I say, I'm looking forward to the game so much. If I was to give a score prediction or whatever, I think, I've kind of alluded to it already, but I think if we're going to get anything out of this game, we're going to be talking about Kasper Schmeichel being man of the match. That's not me being negative. I was saying this in a live chat somewhere. I forget if it was the Bhoys bus or Axom or whatever. But, I don't think that's negative at all. It's just reality. Dortmund are going to have 60, 65, maybe 70% possession. Let's see how the game shakes out. And they're going to have 5, 6, 7 shots on target. We're going to need to have Schmeichel being in the conversation for man of the match. But we also do have outfielders that have got the ability to write their name all over this fixture. I do think Engels could be one of the key players in this one, but for me, it's probably going to be Kuhn, Kyogo, Dyson. It's going to be the front three that really do make something happen. I think we could end up in this game, like the way the balance of probability, the shape of the teams and all the rest of it, I could see us creating 3 or 4 real chances to score in this game, match-winning opportunities as it were. And if we did create 4, I think Kyogo's going to miss one. I think Dyson's going to miss one. I could see us scoring 1 or 2 very easily. And I think the same goes for Borussia Dortmund. I could see, like, don't get me wrong, if Dortmund score very quickly, very early, and kind of mug us off on possession, and anything could happen in a game like this away to Dortmund. Of course, you don't need me to reiterate that, but I've done it anyway. But, previewing the game, having seen Dortmund, having seen us very well as well, I think we could limit them to scoring 2 goals or less, certainly. And I think we could end up with a score draw in this one. And because I do think the game has the potential to maybe wake a lot of people up around Europe to the project that we've had building for the last couple of years and now what we have to show for it in the new format of the Champions League, I'm going to go for Celtic to draw this 2 each. Maybe Scales gets one from a corner. If any are travelling to the game, travel safe. I hope you all have a great time. And yeah, I look forward to catching all of you here back on the channel for a bit of post-game analysis once it's all said and done. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more content like this on screen, and now some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Hail, hail, Moan the Hoops.